Good evening. My name is Joe Sam Robinson, and it's my pleasure to have with us tonight Dr. Buck Melton. Welcome back, Buck.
Glad to be here.
You've been something of a stranger, but we enjoy having you here, and I know your large fan base.
Well, there's no one stranger than me. So.
I know we have requests to have you back. It's good to see you. And we've had conversations about all sorts of things. And one thing that I think you're particularly knowledgeable about is science fiction. You know a lot about science fiction, and what can we learn from that? It appears that often the first glimmer of a new world appears when someone makes it up. This is the way the world will be. There's science fiction, and you can take that back a long way, can you not? And is there a difference between fiction as such and science fiction? What is the difference? What does the word science do to fiction?
Well, you've absolutely asked a question that people have been fighting over for generations. And of course, there are many different genres of science fiction. One of the earliest science fiction books, of course, is Frankenstein, and it's also the mad scientist book. And it raises one of the basic questions that science fiction can. Just because we have the scientific and technological capability to do something, does that mean we should do something? So yeah, science fiction, it can just be aliens and ray guns, or it can pose deep philosophical questions about the human condition, or it can be anything in between. But usually it's based on some sort of scientific discovery, scientific principle, or technology, either that we don't have yet, or that we do have, but it's being used in ways that we are not using it yet.
Well, the word science there, that opens the door to the discoveries of the 19th century, electricity, people being frightened by change. And is there a certain fear attached to science fiction?
Sometimes,
and
yes.
Isn't that generally the case? Is it the science and fiction is going to open the door to Paradiso, and things are going to be much better with the world that's coming? That's somewhat of an unusual thing, isn't it? I mean, is it 50-50 or?
It depends. Of course, one of the most famous science fiction franchises of all time, Star Trek, it's one of its most fundamental principles is we can move past our nationalism, our parochialism, our human weaknesses into a much better civilization and much better society. Now, we will run across threats to that out there somewhere, but often we diffuse those threats by reasoning together and finding common ground. Not always. So another example would be E.T., of course, very optimistic view of the future. Close Encounters, very optimistic view. But more often it presents some sort of potential conflict because in fiction you have to have some sort of conflict to resolve somehow, or there's no plot, there's no story.
In life also,
yeah.
Yes.
And there is a lot of dystopian stuff out there, absolutely.
Well, one thing that I think other people have commented on is the Cold War, the idea of the change that took place.
Yes.
World War II, the U.S. asserted itself, we won the victory, and we used nuclear weapons to secure that world dominance, and then in 1949, the Russians came up with nuclear weapons, and there's a lot of paranoia. What's going to happen? Is there going to be some kind of terrible end to the species? And interlopers were, you mentioned some I guess, shows that use that word, that came from Hollywood, and a famous, I'd say pretty much, Hollywood swings to the left a little bit, sort of a transnational viewpoint about it. It's not always, but I think that's a fair thing to say. And so I think that disturbed Hollywood a lot. And the issues with McCarthy, putting, well, you're a communist or whatever, we have to fear people. And so the science fiction genre that you mentioned is the opposite of that.
Yes.
The idea that strangers are good, and they're going to bring some great blessing to you, as has often been the case. They're not going to harm you, and there are other stories where that's not the case particularly. Other scientific, the ant people are going to eat you up,
Yes.
or whatever, or the body snatchers.
There you go. If you get
body-
into the 50s, if you get into the really nitty-gritty of the early atomic race, the two that immediately come to mind are Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is about the communist threat. They live next door to you, they look like you, they act like you, but underneath they are something horrible that want to prey on you. And the other one is, of course, The Day the Earth Stood Still,
Yes.
when apparently beneficial aliens come from outside Earth and say, your nuclear arms race is a threat to galactic peace.
Yes.
And if you don't handle it, we're going to handle it for you.
Right.
So,
The other thing you mentioned, scientific genres like Star Trek, and another one was, if I can remember its name, was let's see, what was the name of it? It was they had the funny music, and it was on TV.
oh, Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone,
Of course,
and,
yes.
right, okay. So you're more, I guess, knowledgeable than I am, but I remember one episode of that.
I want to see if I'm betting it's the one. I don't want to give it away. I don't want to lead
Okay.
you too much, but did it involve a bank vault?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
This was How to Serve Humans.
Oh yes, no. The name of it was To Serve Mankind.
Oh yeah. Oh, is that
So,
right? Okay,
yes.
you're better than I am.
Yes.
And so the idea that people are going to come,
Yes.
and they've got this, they're so friendly, we're going to take everyone away, and so there was beneath.
But they're here to serve us.
They're
That's the
going to
double
fry you
entendre.
up. It's a cookbook.
Yeah, in the
And
end,
so-
he screams, "Wait! It's a
It's
cookbook."
a cookbook.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So,
very cool.
yes.
I bet you wish you'd written that.
The one that I was thinking of was the bank clerk who just wants to read, and he's classical bookish. He's got these huge glasses,
Right.
And he finally hides in a bank vault so he can read his book on
And there
his
was
lunch
nuclear
hour.
exchange
There's
or
nuclear
something.
explosion. He's the only person in the world to survive it because he's in the bank vault. He comes out. He rejoices because now he doesn't have a job, and so he goes to the library and he heaps up these piles of books and then stumbles and his glasses
Yes,
break.
yes,
So,
human frailty there.
yes.
Well, I mean, so studying this, you can think about its, and indeed with fiction in general, is there some kind of insight into our psychic situation?
Yes.
And so let's think about what psychic situation we have now, and is science fiction there? And obviously AI is there. I mean, and so that has a lot of issues, replacing humanity, maybe a sense of fear of technology that seems to be around, and they're going to take you out. They're going to do this. Humanity is in danger. And then one of the things about this, which is often the case, I think, when you can think of War of the Worlds, you can think of outer space invaders, or AI run amok, where humanity sort of draws together as best they can to fend off the common enemy.
Yes, many of those. The ones that come to mind immediately are Colossus, the Forbin Project. That's not as well known today. Probably the best known dystopian AI run amok would be the Terminator series. Another one would be Battlestar Galactica. These are both very much in the public consciousness. Harlan Ellison, who is just one of the great figures of literary sci-fi, once wrote an absolutely chilling short story called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. That dates from, I believe, the 60s or the early 70s.
Wow.
Yes, and these are, and so yes, I'm fascinated by AI's potential, but I've already seen it eroding higher education. I've seen it beginning to erode the law profession. I am seeing, as all these data centers come into being, they're just going to be a huge suck on the energy grid. They're going to pollute water. Our release of energy since the Industrial Revolution began is already starting to make the ecosystem unsustainable. And we are busily engaged on creating an entity, whether sentient or not, that is going to be far more intelligent than we are. This could be an existential threat to us in so many different ways.
Well, I mean, isn't this? I mean, this is rather a story that's been there for a while. I mean, with new technology, new things coming in. Well, we won't need any of this. We won't need any of that. We won't need sailors, particularly. We'll have steamships. So we don't need coaches anymore. So all sorts of replacements, fear of replacements, and one of the things that I wonder about is the use of AI for power. So if you're competing, you're a human, you're competing, or a country, or a group, or you could be a company, and you have this cudgel, you have the AI in your pocket, and you can outdo everyone with it. So it's sort of a not exactly a rational decision, other than the fear of other people getting it, fear of the Chinese, for instance. Are we really frightened of the Chinese these days? I mean, and isn't that natural? So in group, out group, you're the bad guys, or you're just different than we are. You have different, and we fear you, and therefore we have to have our armaments to stop you from becoming dominant, kind of like the missile race.
Yes.
Is there an AI quasi-missile race between the U.S. and...
Oh, yes. It's going on right now, just like, it's sort of like Dr. Strangelove.
Yes.
I'm reminded of a sketch that I once saw. It was an illustration of, I think it was Idols of the King. I think it was Tennyson. But at any rate, it was some sort of sketch of the Arthurian legends. And this sketch was in a book in the late 1800s, which is why I'm thinking it might have been Tennyson. But the sketch is of Arthur and his illegitimate son Mordred, both in full plate armor, battling each other at the Battle of Camelon. And this is, of course, the great big battle that destroyed Camelot. And what you see in the background is a complete wasteland. All the other knights are dead, the horses are dead, and the whole countryside has been laid waste. And these two knights are still going at it. And the point is that their conflict means that whoever wins, this is what he inherits. I mean, they have destroyed the house they've both lived in. And this is what I say existential threat. Yes, steam power changed a lot, nuclear power changed a lot, the nuclear bomb changed a lot, but none of these things has actually destroyed our life support network. If we had had a nuclear war, it might very well, or if we do in the future, it might very well do it. But this massive power consumption is going to shatter the ecosystem.
I mean, let's suppose that didn't exist. Do you think the species is still at risk because of there are 8 billion, maybe 8.5 billion people require a lot. And people are jealous of each other. And actually, as much as people are dismissive of the good old USA, I mean, our standard of living is up there, and if it were, and I would say most other countries are jealous and want to have the same standard of living that we have, although many people would dismiss that idea. My standard of living, they might say, is suboptimal, or but nevertheless, if the world obtains our standard of living or gets close to it, the stress on the world will be so extraordinary that, I mean, you don't need AI to make things work. And the other thing is war. I mean, isn't that the real danger? I mean, war. Isn't that the big problem our species have? And maybe that would take things, or would put the species at risk even without AI. It's another kind of risk that's appeared.
Yes. Well, yeah, and AI just factors into that.
It will become a tool of war,
Yes.
would it not?
Yes. And let me give you a couple of sobering ideas here. You're a scientist, you're a doctor. What percentage of the Earth's biomass is made up by human beings and their livestock?
I would think a lot of fish in the sea, so to speak. We have to put all of the biomass of the planet there, and I don't think it would be a terribly high number.
It is extremely high, and I will get you those figures later on.
I would think it's not. I mean, certainly our species, that's one of the things to think about, is if we have the amount of protein that's locked up in humans, so we have 8 billion of them. What do they weigh?
Well, not just
so
humans.
100 pounds. Well, no, you mentioned their livestock.
Yeah,
I know. I was starting with humans not being such a big number.
But you throw in the livestock, it's ridiculous.
And little pets, dogs, cats, whatever, tropical birds, the whole story.
True wildlife is into the single digits, I believe.
Well, that might be true. That there are just relatively few buffalo herds roaming. There are some, but they're relatively few compared to the world in a state of nature.
And they have few protections, and their habitats are continually going away, which throws things completely out of kilter. And here's another fact for you, and I will find this for you as well. There is at least one website you can go to, and it will ask you a few dozen questions about your lifestyle. How long you drive, what electricity you use, how much you eat, and it will tell you, based on your lifestyle, if every human being, if all 8 billion of us lived the way you do, how many planet Earths would it take to sustain that lifestyle?
Just so, it's a tremendous number.
It's terrifying.
It's a big number.
You just can't do it.
And of course, that's one of the issues that's out there, is that I think people are dismissive, many are, about the good old USA, what it's like to wander around here, walk down Cherry Street. What's it like? I don't like it. It's got this problem. I don't like the politicians. I don't like the traffic, whatever else I don't like. It's too hot in the summer. But compared to the rest of the world, this is really close to Paradiso. So it really is pretty good.
Yes.
Now, continuing on that thought, one of the issues is, at least people imagine this scenario, which is true. The planet itself is an incredible situation. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's this blue paradise, really, as far as we know, floating around, and it supports life forms. You can make the case that it was really kind of an organism, and that you could say, well, the atmosphere, the lungs, the issue with climate. Maintaining a certain climate is referable to homeostasis situation that human has, maybe. So anyway, and humans are sort of a cancer form in that they're disturbing the equilibrium of the planet. Although I hasten to say, people may give too much credence to the idea that things are stable. So the planet has certainly, flown back and forth in many different directions, and it's not just a total stable situation. I mean, there are many reasons to think there's a lot of change that happens from the point of view of geological time.
Well, most of the change is very, very slow, and what we are doing through our brain power is creating stresses on that system in very, very extremely short periods of time, a couple of 100 years. And will life continue here? Probably so. I mean, if it could take the asteroid impact 65 million years ago, yes. But we might not be that life. We might make it unsustainable for us. And the damage that we do over the next century, nature may take tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years to recover from. You mentioned war earlier. Here's an interesting thought. There are so many of us now that if we have a true Malthusian war that would bring us back to some sort of sustainable levels, it would take the unleashing of weapons of mass destruction to get those numbers down sufficiently. And those weapons themselves might make massive parts of the world unsustainable.
Well, of course, the issue that you touch on is reproduction. That's a pretty powerful, I guess, predisposition of humans to want to reproduce, or at least sexuality is powerful out there, and that's certainly hardwired in our species. But the jump to reproduction might be somewhat under some pressure. Now, in many parts of the world that happens, but certainly in rich countries, I think the rates of reproduction have diminished.
Yes.
And Northern Europeans, and there are many reasons for that. And one of the things that I see is I guess a way of coping with diminished human reproduction, or a great attention to pets. So they're sort of surrogate children in a way, and you can look at the number of pets out there. You can do this, you can do that.
Now, you're not going to pull a J.D. Vance childless cat lady on me, are you?
Do you like cats, Bucky?
Actually, I'm much more of a dog person.
More of a dog person. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, right, the cat people or something. There's even a science fiction thing. Can you comment on that? Isn't there a science fiction, the cat people or something?
I've read a very interesting series recently where canine life evolved on another planet, and they come to Earth to reclaim their lost cousins.
Oh, really?
And the title of the series is called Good Boys, and it's really a fun read.
Really?
It's very
Well,
nice.
of course, that's the Planet of the Apes. That scientific genre.
This one is very interesting. Of course, this was written originally by a Frenchman around the time of Dien Bien Phu.
Yes.
And the idea of the darker-skinned races taking over the world.
Well, that's the obvious.
That's the subtext.
That's the deal. Yeah.
And then when we made the American version in 1968, which was the same year of the Tet Offensive.
Right.
And if you look at the fourth movie in the original series, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, it was essentially a metaphor for race warfare in the big urban.
It wasn't the apes, I take it.
It was indeed the apes.
Oh, the apes won?
It's called Planet of the Apes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
They won the battle, huh?
Yes.
And so that's sort of a demographic, it's sort of post-colonial story.
Precisely.
So the Western, the Europeans sort of had their innings on the playing field, and now the other side will take over.
So yes, going back to our original question, science fiction can serve many different functions. It can serve as allegory. It can do something that we can't do in the real world and in history, and come up with a hypothetical and say, if we change the variables, what would we get here? A very, very famous example is a Star Trek episode, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, when the USS Enterprise comes across a race that are black on one side of their bodies.
I remember that one.
And white on the other.
Don't you see the difference?
And they hate each other. They cannot stand each other.
That's right.
And the Enterprise crew says, but you're both black on one side and white on the other.
And
one says, he's black on his right side.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
And
I remember
at that
That's
point,
quite good, isn't it?
You go from thinking, how stupid are they, to, wow, they are us, aren't they?
Well, and the deal is,
we are them.
which you could say the sort of Darwinian dynamics are out there, the out group, the in group, and my DNA, whatever it is, I want my DNA to triumph, be it in soccer matches or football games or winning Nobel Prizes.
Yes.
I think that might be hardwired, and one of the issues for ethics is to get past that. I think that's the real ethical story.
Yes.
Is that you can say I'm going to treat everyone equally, and then not even if my family gets a nip and I get a nip. I'm really. Going to surrender my, whatever it is, sinecure, because it's inappropriate for me to have the sinecure. That's very difficult to do.
Well, if we're in a society of scarcity, and I've been quoting Star Trek a lot today, I'll hop over to Star Wars for a minute. The Gospel according to Yoda, he said.
You know these pretty well, I must say.
But Yoda,
Is this the sign of a misspent youth, Bucky? I mean, instead of a pool hall, you were the scientific fiction.
I would like to think that my heavy reading in science fiction has actually enriched me and given me an interesting perspective.
Well, I think that's the case, yes. I agree with that. I was making a little
yes,
joke.
but Yoda points out at one point, and of course this is kind of sophomoric philosophy, but it was done in a way as to reach a lot of people who might not have ever heard of it. And Yoda points out, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. That when you are living in an economy of scarcity, of job loss, it is in those circumstances that you see nativism, that you see nationalism, that you see us versus them, that you see religious intolerance all come bubbling up and start doing hideous things.
I don't think in my opinion, that's part of the human condition. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think which is something that requires a lot of rooting about. I mean, we have to moderate the way the world goes to survive. And maybe I've said this before. One of my theories, a little bit, is it's reaching a little bit as to why there's no. We don't pick any radio signals up from anywhere else. There's no one else out there. Why is that?
The Fermi paradox.
But the reason may be that the same thing that we have the same disease here.
Yes.
In that evolution has gone so quickly that our brains haven't
keep up. Yes.
Well, we have an alligator brain, and so it's quite appropriate if you're in the alligator pond that you wouldn't like, I don't know, you'd want to eat fish or beware of, I don't know, large snakes, or whatever alligators fear. That would be key to survival. But it's no longer the case in our world. And so getting some kind of, how do we get along with each other is a big deal. And to me, it's impressive in that at least I've observed the end of war kind of theories that have been put there. So the end of World War II, one big one was when the communism went down. So, and I think the way it was maybe described, where this was an evil appearance, it's like a disease of bad people that were attempting to injure everyone. And once they were gone, once they were taken out, then we'd have this utopia, we'd have peace. And indeed, one reason that we'd have this is the U.S. ethics, our viewpoint, would dominate the planet. And I can remember that. Yes, that was, if you went abroad or saw other places, you had this, it's like being a Roman citizen. People, oh, you're an American, that's great. So now you're nodding, Bucky, are
yes.
you?
Well, I agree with you, but also we're about finished up on our time. I would like to finish with an interesting quotation from Star Trek, if you'd let me.
I will certainly let you, Buck.
Yes, and this is said by an alien, a very acquisitive, extremely capitalist race.
He was probably a villain in the piece. I would
not
think.
really, but an interesting, look at us. And here's what he's saying about the post-scarcity human society. So if I can find the entire quotation here. And if I can't, we'll just have to go. All right, here we are. Let me tell you something about humans, nephew. They're a wonderful, friendly people as long as their bellies are full and their hollow sweets are working. But take away their creature comforts, deprive them of food, sleep, showers, put their lives in jeopardy over an extended period of time, and those same friendly, intelligent, wonderful people will become as nasty and as violent as the most bloodthirsty Klingon. You don't believe me? Look at those faces. Look in their eyes. And with that, we have to sign off.
All right, Buck. Well, that was pretty spooky. I hope you didn't scare your large fan base out there.
Indeed.
Well, it's great to have you here, and we'll do it again. So thank
Look
you
forward
so much.
to it.
Thank you, Buck. Thank you.